Hey, what's up, everybody? This is your boy, the dope ass dude. Happy Monday, everybody. I'm so happy to be here with you on tonight, and I'm excited about the show and everything that is going to be discussed on tonight because this is a good friend of mine. She's been on the podcast before, and I'm just really excited to share where she is and what she's doing right now. So let's go ahead and get the preliminary things out of the way. If you're not subscribed to the YouTube channel, if you don't mind going ahead, subscribing to the YouTube channel. And while you're there, go ahead and click on notify so that you can be notified each and every time a new podcast is uploaded to the site. And then while you're there, go ahead and click on like so that this can be shared with others just like you. Now, if you're unable to check out the podcast on Mondays, you can always check it out on the go. It's on Apple Podcasts, YouTube Music, Spotify, and iHeart Radio. Again, that's Apple Podcasts, YouTube Music, Spotify, and iHeart Radio. Then you can watch it live every Monday on Facebook, LinkedIn, X, and YouTube. Again, you can watch it live on Facebook, LinkedIn, X, and YouTube. And then going ahead and get this out of the way as well. If you're not following me on Instagram and TikTok, you can follow me on both of those platforms at the Dope Ass Dude Podcast. That's on Instagram and TikTok. Again, it's the Dope Ass Dude Podcast. And we'll get Shana Lee's information out of the way so you can go ahead and get plugged in with her. You can follow Shana Lee on all three platforms, TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook at Mommy in Waiting 1124. So Mommy in Waiting 1124. So again, you can follow Shana Lee on TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook at Mommy in Waiting 1124. So I'm really excited to have Shana Lee on here, not only because I believe she's an extraordinary individual, but she is doing some amazing things. She's constantly evolving, she's constantly pivoting, and she's constantly thinking and stretching herself further than she has in the past. So for me, that is always super inspiring because I remember when her and I first met, Shana Lee was super shy. I wouldn't probably even imagining watching her on the podcast because she was very soft-spoken, kept herself. But now Shana Lee is every time I look up, she telling somebody she's doing daily inspirational videos. She's hosting retreats. And now she's an author of a book. So I'm just excited to have her on. And we're going to go ahead and bring her on out. Shana Lee.
Hello. How are you?
I'm amazing. How are you?
I am well. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So what's been going on with you?
Man, well, I just, like you stated, I just came back from Broken Bow, Oklahoma. I took, it was 15 ladies with me, total 15 to Broken Bow. We had such a great time from Thursday to Sunday, just allowing the ladies to be able to pause, breathe, and exhale. And so so just coming off of that, and so I'm just excited to even be here as well, just to talk about Mommy in Waiting, the book that I recently penned as well as released. So I'm just happy about that too.
Awesome. So how often do you have the retreats?
It's our annual retreat, so it's every October. So next October. So now seats are open for next year, and next year we're going to Austin, Texas. I can tell you because I always allow my attendees to know first. So I announce it at our farewell dinner. We have a farewell dinner. I bring in a chef to this year. The chef did a pasta. We made homemade pasta, and so she gave us all the opportunity to make our own pasta and everything. And then at the dinner, that's when I announced next year's retreat. And so next year's retreat is October 15th through the 18th. And it's going to be in Austin, Texas. And so I'm super excited about that. That's from Thursday to Sunday.
Wow. Yeah. So while you're at the retreat, what all did y'all do? What all did you do?
Yeah, so we always do some type of local activity. So we went horseback riding. Last year when we was in Fredericksburg, we did winery and everything. So we'll do something that the area is known for, right? And so with Broken Bow, it's in nature. I love nature. So if anybody's noticing, is like Fredericksburg, that's a very nature space. Broken Bow, very nature space. Austin, even though it's a city, it does have a lot of greenery and a lot of nature. So so we're going to do something that's local to the area. We also do a community service type of project. It's a self-care retreat. So different activities that, we can always do back at home, and to make sure that we are refueling ourselves. So this year, the community service project was, we made cancer care boxes for people that are going through cancer treatments and everything.
Oh, wow.
So I have all my attendees bring an item to put in the box, and when I tell you, they went all the way out. Like it was so beautiful. I just can't wait to show even the footage of it. But they went above and beyond and everything, and so is that last year we did baskets for domestic violence victims. So
Oh,
we
wow.
did baskets for that. And then we also lounged around the cabin. We stayed in the cabin, and the cabin had a game room and everything such as that. On Saturday, we actually, it was a field day. We did Christian yoga. And so we did Christian yoga, and our instructor was healing from the mat. She is here in the DFW area. So we did that. And then we then had brunch, and the same chef that did did the farewell dinner, she did the brunch. And then from there, we had Dr. Allen comes in, and she did like sisterhood moments. And so we were able to break up in groups and just have conversations that, just needed to just, again, enrich us as women and everything. And then the next session was from me, I Am Worthy. And we did an activity with our mirrors. I gave each woman a mirror, and we talked about what is something that someone tried to paint as a negative in your life that now you can change to a positive. And so we did that, and then and so it was fun. We did another arts and crafts with a charcuterie board. We had and so we did that. And then we got dressed for the farewell dinner, where we dressed up and look cute as they were saying. We want to look cute. So we did that. And then on Thursday, I can't forget Thursday. Thursday, we had a pajama jam. So we did line dancing. The ladies, we were all dressed in purple for worthy, for royalty. And so that was just a fun night and everything. And then that's when Friday we did the horseback riding and just, relax and enjoy the cabin and everything. So it's a lot of activity. It sounds like a lot of activities, but we really pace it out, or I really pace it out just to make sure that it was very again, we're not just always on the go, because that's what we tend to do in our personal lives, right? And so this opportunity with the retreat, I allow women to just come and just be their authentic self. It was just a great group of women. Everybody just gel, had good vibes, all of that. So I'm just my heart is full just to see the ladies bonding and just enjoying themselves, because even though self-care is a buzzword for everybody, it's a passion for me. And so allowing women just to have the opportunity to do to just experience that, and then they can go back and be refueled, so they can go and take on whatever, their world and what they have to do and what they have to deal with. And so yeah, so I had that. I had a content creator, so you'll see it, because nowadays, if you don't capture it, did it really happen? So Excel
Yeah.
Social Media, she was there as well. And then Embodies Decor, an event, she did all my decorations. So if anybody follows me and just want to find out about, and just want to see all the decor, she did all the decor, and she came last year, and as an attendee, she saw I needed some help. So she came back, and then she also helped me with catering. So she did the food Thursday and Friday, and it was wonderful. It was a great time. Great time.
Wow, that sounds amazing. So how long did it take you to plan all of this? Because it was a lot, and it sounds
Yeah.
like and well, I don't want to, and when I say a lot, I don't want to sound like that's negative, but
Yeah.
it was a fun packed weekend.
Yeah.
So with that all being, how long did it take you to strategically
Mm-hmm.
plan that? Because we could say, oh, well, we're gonna do this, but there's no outline. Like, so what was your creative process with all of that?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So it
Of
takes
course
me
it
like a
is.
year.
Just a dope ass dude podcast. Of course that's a great question.
You the best. So it's actually it takes me well, I have a skeleton, I have like the skeleton outline of it. By the time I announce the next year's event, I have a skeleton of the event, but to flesh it out and to plan it all out, that I would say to the end of this quarter, to the end of the year, and then in January going into it, it's already really finalized and everything. And so I tend to do for my audience, I tend to do like a live to kind of, once I have things fleshed out, I do a live so I can like explain and tell everybody what to expect. And then in January through really through October, I offer payment plans. I do different monthly check-ins, so we're like counting down to it. And then I do a check-in by calling each attendee and just making sure that, hey, because some ladies did not know me this year, right? And so they came by way of somebody, right, that knew me. And so I believe that if you are they entrusted me with them for their family entrusted me with them for the whole weekend. And so that's something I don't take lightly at all. So so making sure that they feel comfortable too, and everything. So I check in with them, have conversations with them. And then one thing that I do for when it comes to a breathe and exhale retreat, because I'm a queen of going to an event by myself, right? But I also know that could be a little intimidating. So I do Zoom calls. And so we do Zoom calls. It was a great opportunity for the ladies to meet each other, connect with each other before we get to the actual weekend. So all of it is planning a whole year, right? It's planning the whole year and like what will take it to the next level, what will be because I love creating experiences, so what will help it get to the next level of that experience for that woman and everything like that. So it's a whole year, but to have the whole thing fleshed out by the end of December. Yeah.
Yeah, that's really, really good. I mean, and I love the fact that, it's coming from your creative genius. I think that
Mm-hmm.
is that's just amazing. I think
Yeah.
because a lot of times we have, and you and I, we talked a little bit about this here. We have all of these, we have visions and we can create, but sometimes we get overwhelmed because there's so much creativity being poured into us. So
Yeah.
it's good you had that friend that stepped up and
Yeah.
saw the need where
Yeah.
they can participate in it. That those are the people you need in your life.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. You got to have those people. Got to, right? Exactly.
Yeah. So I see we have a couple of people out here. So we got Tyson. I saw him earlier. Marquita, Marion, Jasmine, Crystal, and then we have somebody that was at your retreat. When I tell you, when I tell you a time was had, it was amazing and relaxing. I'm ready to take on the rest of my year and come back. Wow, renewed to my family, worthy. Wow, I love that. That's amazing. So
Yeah.
thank you for
Yes.
that feedback there. So let's go ahead and jump into Mommy in Waiting, ShanaLee.
Yes.
So
Mm-hmm.
this is your first book. So let me ask this question before we go into the book. How much of the book is you?
Oh, it's all me.
Okay. It's all,
It's all me. It was no AI, but no. On a
no,
serious
I didn't
note,
mean
like
like AI.
right,
I didn't
but
mean
no, I know what
AI.
you mean.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know what you mean. But no, it is part of it is my story, but then it's also women in the Bible. So if that's what you're referring to, it is my story. And then prior to writing the book, I did a study on the women in the Bible that were barren. And so when the Holy Spirit dropped in my spirit to write Mommy in Waiting. I wanted to come from a place, I didn't know exactly if it was going to be a devotional book. I didn't want it to just be about my story, because it's so many different stories of women that is on this journey and everything. So I wanted to, so it's my story, it's the women in the Bible, but I also incorporated, because I am married, I can speak from that lens of bringing, like, not necessarily just another viewpoint that your husband is going through, your partner is going through with you. It's not just you. Sometimes we, as women, we try to, we take it on like it's just us, but they go through it as well. And so I bring that lens. And then my husband actually ends up penning a letter in the book to the men as well. So it's all of that. And then of course it's some encouragement, it's some devotions that are just simply just encouragement and everything for you. Yeah.
Wow. Okay, so because I think the title alone is very intriguing, and I think that's like a brilliant title, Mommy in Waiting. Like, did that
Mhm.
just come to you, or did you write the book and was like, this matches what I've written? Like, how did that work?
Yeah. So it was a little series. I did have a couple of titles. It wasn't that many. It was probably like two or three. But Mommy in Waiting was always there from the beginning. And so from there I ended up writing the book, and then really seeking God and asking God, like, what is it? Because with Mommy in Waiting, it's still a journey, and I took it as this is a journey for just walking through this pathway and everything. So and so that's how it just at the end, once I prayed, and that was the title. And it kind of, I wouldn't say it was at the very end. I really can't say that, because it was really towards the beginning, in the middle, that I knew, like, Mommy in Waiting. I only entertained others just in case it was, a little more jazzy type of thing. But I was like, no, Mommy in Waiting, it just felt right. So
Okay, so let's
yeah.
talk about it. So tell us
Yeah.
about Mommy in Waiting. What is Mommy in Waiting?
Yeah, so it's a book about really the waiting season. Yes, it does document a woman who's waiting to have children. However, the book officially came out September 23rd, and people have purchased the book, and they're not necessarily waiting on a child, but they're in waiting season. And so I try to make that distinction. Yes, I did title the book Mommy in Waiting, yes, but it really displays the waiting season and the emotions of it, not necessarily just talking about the waiting season. If anybody would have told me, like, when I was growing up, I'll write a book about emotions, I would be like, nah, because for the longest, I like was not very much, in tune with my emotions. But in this journey, I got in tune with my emotions, and so it talks about the emotional aspect of waiting. And so we talk about the desire, we talk about the joy, the hope, the doubt, the anger of it all, then satisfaction. So it goes through a series of different emotions in the book. And so I told the readers in the beginning that they can read the book all the way through. It's a 40-day devotional book. And then at the end, if it's a certain day that they are feeling doubtful, go and read that chapter. If they're feeling with joy, go and read that day. If they were feeling with hope, go and read that day. Like, they can go back and choose the emotion that they're feeling. And then, as well as, I know it's a bunch of other emotions that you can feel. So I also have just check-ins, and they can write down, because I always suggest a journal while you're reading the book, and they can journal, what their emotion is. So yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, waiting is always hard. Waiting
Yeah.
is hard. Waiting
Hmm.
is hard. And then, especially, with the whole mommy thing, because I know several women who strongly desire to be a mother, but it
Hmm.
hasn't happened for them. And some, it doesn't look like it's going to happen in regards to
Hmm.
natural birth. Let me
Yeah.
just say that, because they
Hmm.
could possibly adopt if they want.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
But the whole thing, I never forget. I had a friend one time, she told me, this was years ago. She told me she believed God made her, put her here on earth to be a wife and to be a mother. And neither of those things happened for her.
Mm.
She's never married. She doesn't have kids. She has a beautiful life. Don't get me wrong. She has a
Yeah.
beautiful life.
Yeah.
But she thought his plan was for her to be
Yeah.
those things.
Yeah.
And there were times, I mean, I think your book would have been super beneficial to her back then,
Mm-hmm.
because there were times that she allowed not being married and not having kids to overwhelm her.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it gave her like a negative energy and everything
Mm-hmm.
like that, because that's what she
Yeah.
thought. So, like, what do you say to someone that is there? They
Mm.
won't. They are
Yeah.
waiting. They waiting to be a mommy, all the other
Yeah.
stuff. So what do you say to them?
Yeah. No, that is a great. First, I wanted her to know that she is enough, right? Oftentimes when we are desiring that weight, that being a mom or being a wife, we put so much value in it that we think like it's something wrong with us, and it's nothing wrong with her, right? And so I want that woman to know first and foremost, it's nothing wrong with you, right? It is just that the Lord's plans was different, right? And that is a difficult um that's a difficult pill. And even though I'm about to answer it, my last chapter talks about that. If he doesn't answer the prayer, if he doesn't answer, what your desire is, if it doesn't line up, if your life does not match with what you desire. And I always tell people that's the hardest thing to ever get over, is when your life does not look like how you thought it would look.
Mhm.
And so the first, that she is nothing wrong with her. Two, I will tell her to, if she needs therapy, to go to seek therapy, right? Because sometimes we can stuff our feelings and say, okay, I'm fine, I'm fine, I'm fine. And then something it triggers us, and then it's something different, right? And then number three, I'm a firm believer that the Lord will mend your heart. Right. And it doesn't, and I'm not trying to sound like, oh, this, no, it will take time though. It would take time. Right. And even when I had to write that chapter, I struggled with that chapter because I was like, Lord, and I had to pray, because I will tell the person too to constantly continue to pray and continue to go to him and continue to be honest with him when you go to him. I think sometimes we try to shield it from God and say, no, God, I'm good. Because yes, I do believe and continue to give God all the reverence that he deserves, right? But I believe that he can handle it. So he can handle us being angry, being disappointed, being hurt, that this is what I thought was the outline for my life, and it didn't happen like that, right? And so I think if when we go to him, and one thing that the Lord dropped in my spirit too, as I after I wrote the book, actually these last couple of months, how God is so intentional. He's so intentional. And if we think about it, he sent his only begotten son, Jesus Christ, to die on the cross for us. And when Christ was getting ready to go to the cross, he had, even a whole dialogue with God, like, and saying like, if it's not my will, if it's your, let your will be done and everything. And I always go back to that, right? And I told people that Jesus sits at the right hand and he's interceding on our behalf. So he understands. So when we go to God with all our frustrations, our emotions, our anger, our hurt, and everything like that, just know that Christ is right there interceding for us. And so it's okay to continue to pray. It's okay to cry out. It's okay. But just know the Lord will mend your heart. That one day you will wake up and that you will be in a satisfied place. Doesn't mean that you'll realize that the life that you have created is just as beautiful and everything. So so that's what I will say to the woman that is there, that maybe their life just did not work out the way that they hope. And that's not just for women, like anybody really.
Yeah.
If their life just does not look like what they thought it was going to look like, right? Certain things, yes, we can change around, but if it's a certain season and you realize like, no, that is up, then I would just say continue to pray, continue to seek the Lord, and he will mend your heart.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think too, like what you said, take it to him and be honest. And I think sometimes we can say, well, God knows everything. So he knows how I feel. Why do I have to tell it? But sometimes for me, I'll just say for me, it works better for me when I tell him or say it
Say
to
it.
God. I say
Yeah.
it to God because we are built to say, oh, I'm good. I'm good.
Yeah.
I'm this. I'm this. And that's we're speaking it and we're hearing it and we're programming ourselves to put facades on and
Mm-hmm.
everything. But when
Yeah.
you flat out and say, hey God, like I don't understand this, and this is
Yeah.
how I'm feeling, and this is hurting
Yeah.
me, you acknowledge it yourself, and it
Yeah.
it, it places you in a different
Different space.
place. Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. Totally agree.
Yeah, yeah. So okay, so let me ask you this here, because I've known you for 15 years, ShanaLee.
Oh wow.
Why? Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I was at Christian Chapel when I was like, well, actually, I probably known you longer than that because I was at Christian Chapel. I just thought about this the other day, and at that time when I left, I was 38, 39. I was 39, and I already knew
Mm-hmm.
you before then, and I'm 53 now. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
been a
Yeah.
long time.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this here. Why now? Why do you think God released this book in you now?
Well, I think I know it was a journey though. So so when he first dropped it in my spirit to write this book, I think first of all, I think he released it. He gave me permission to release it now because I realized it was a need for it. Because the best the book couldn't get written until I experienced it myself, right? And so I wrote from a place of honesty and transparency and everything. So with that being said, when he first gave me the book, my husband and we got married in 2017, and the journey started really like we got married in September. I think my doctor's appointment was either October, November. And so we've been on the journey since 2017. But it wasn't until 2021 because honestly, I'm a book reader. I love reading books. And so I was desperately trying to find a book that spoke to this situation. Not this, because a lot of the books about pregnancy and mommy is you're already pregnant. A lot of the books speak from that angle, but nobody, not that I've come across, is writing about a book of a person that's waiting to be a mother. And so, so I was desperately looking for something between 2017 and 2021, to try to find a book that can speak to my situation, that I felt like the author understood me, and I could see me on the papers, on the pages, and I can relate to it and everything. And from there, I was wondering like, where is that book? And then in 2021, I was actually on it wasn't even a call about women wanting to be pregnant. I think they were just talking about their journey in their faith walk. And it was this one young lady, and she was talking about like the ups and downs of being a mother. And I was like, oh my gosh, I understand and everything. And then the Holy Spirit dropped in me of you write the book, like dropped in me like, what if there's a book about the emotional aspect? And I was like, oh, that would be great. And then the Lord was like, you should write it. And I was like, no, I don't think it was me. Like, I was like, that would be an awesome book for someone. Like, and sometimes you have an idea like, man, that would be great for them. And so the Lord was like, no, you need to write this book. And so, I wrestled in the beginning about it because again, like, how transparent should I be? You know, what will people say? And you have all those like those thoughts, and the Lord just would not let me go to sleep and like he just kept coming back to me, and I was like, okay. And then so I had to first talk to my husband Josh, because I was like, well, if I'm going to write a book, I'm the type of person, like, if I'm going to do something, I got to go all in. And so I kind of gave him the outline, because it's not like I said, it's not just my journey, it's his journey. And I wanted to make sure he was okay with me penning our our lives on our in the book, and everything. He gave me the green light because he's always so supportive of all my crazy dreams. The Lord knows who to put us with, and so I started writing. And at first I was hesitant, but I didn't even know what I was gonna write, to be quite honest. I just knew he just would not let the idea go from out of my mind. And so I sat down, I just started writing and everything. And then from there, I started writing it, and every time I wanted to stop, John, I will tell you, every single time I wanted to stop, because I was like, this is heavy, like this is a lot, because I'm also reliving some of the moments, because like I said, I've been on the journey since at the end of 2017 to now in 2021. So now I have to relive some of the things so I could write about it. And I was like, this is a lot, Lord. And every time I put it down and said, okay, no, I'm not going to write it, he will always bring me a couple that was dealing with it. He will always, and it wasn't like I was looking for these couples. It was just, I would hear about these couples, or that I would be introduced and somebody would tell me, or someone would tell me about their waiting journey, and now they have children. It was like it was just all constantly in my face. And so I said, okay, I gotta pin this. And so I truly believe that God's timing is the best timing. And so even though, yes, I started writing in 2021, in 2023, I thought I was done with the book. Actually, I was like, okay, I'm good. I'm about to start going to the next steps of getting it out. And then I went through the stage of anger. And I even think that was intentional by God. And so God said, you got to go back and you got to write this. So with that, I truly believe God timing is perfect timing. And so it's now, because I think the world needs it now. I think, especially as I hear people who purchase the book, and as they read, one young lady came up to me and said, I have given her courage to talk about her journey, her situation. So I just know this was the right timing, and everything operates in God's timing. And so it's the right timing now.
Yeah, because I think that there are, well, I don't think, I know, because I've talked to several women who struggle with that,
Mm-hmm.
the waiting, and then maybe not even just the waiting, it's just not a part of their plan. It's not a
Mm-hmm.
part of their plan. And they struggle with that. And they not only struggle with it, they tend to keep it inwardly,
Yeah.
because they feel somewhat shame, or
Yes.
maybe immature, that they're complaining about something
Yeah.
that, to us, you go to the church, we just be like, oh, well, just keep waiting, God is gonna bless you. That's what the church,
Yeah.
but it's like, and it's
Yeah.
not you don't feel comfortable talking about that.
Yeah. It's like, where's the community? Right. Because, yes, even though I'm a believer, and yes, prayer, it works. And listen, I'm all about prayer. Anybody that knows me knows I am all about prayer. But the human aspect of us, the
Yeah.
flesh part of us, the part that God knows that He created us, and He understands. We need an outlet, right? And so, like you said, like, it's that shame, and it's taking off the shame, right? Because to let her know that she's not alone, she's not on this island by herself. Because oftentimes that's how I felt. I felt like no one could really relate to me. Nobody really understood what I was going through and everything. And so, just creating a safe space that when they read a book, that they could feel seen in it, or at least giving them a different perspective, to depending on when they, what part of the book they're reading, just giving them a different perspective, and knowing that it's prayer, and you can have your emotion and feel this, right? And sometimes, even though people mean well when they say, oh, God's timing, and even like I just said, like, God's timing is perfect timing, right, to release the book and everything. God's timing is perfect. Just keep praying and everything. But sometimes you just really want to feel those. You just want to feel your feelings, and that's completely fine. And even in the anger section, I talk about, I didn't really tell people how I was feeling, because I didn't want people to spiritualize it away. I didn't want to hear like, girl, God got you, da, da, da. And it's like, yeah, but this is how I'm really feeling. And so I just needed that safe space to go and just really feel what I'm feeling and being okay with that, and knowing that God is okay with me going to saying how I feel and everything. So yeah.
Yeah, so and that was the reason I asked you in the very beginning, like how much of this book is you? Because
Mm,
you came back and you was like, well, you dealt with the whole transparency part of it.
mm-hmm.
How transparent do you get? But when you're writing books like this here, people have to identify themselves
Yeah.
in it. And they
Yeah.
will identify themselves if you're sharing your story. So was
Yeah.
that scary for you to be as vulnerable?
Yeah, no, it was scary. And I didn't want to hold back because I feel as though if I wasn't vulnerable, then I'm not doing the reader justice, right? And so even in my tug of war with the Lord, because He also knows me, He knows once He gives me that assignment to do, He knows I'm going to put my all in it, right? And so I was like, Lord, am I really going to share all of this? And so when I got to the anger section, actually, the anger section, I was really like, Lord, am I really going to tell these people? I ain't want to tell your church folks. I ain't want to tell your Christian folks. I ain't want to talk to them because because I ain't want nobody to spiritualize it away and
Yeah.
everything. And He was like, yes, because that's honesty. That's how people feel. And I think, but one of the things too in my anger section is that I think oftentimes when we are going through a difficult time, when we are just really just disappointed or just hurt by something, we tend to like seclude ourselves. And the Lord had it, and this is how intentionality God is, how intentional He is, because when so in June of that year, and I my pastor asked me to be over the prayer team. And so we do first Saturday prayer at my church. And so I have to get up every Saturday and I have to lead people in prayer, or prayer prompts and everything such as that. And I got the news in September about them feeling that I wouldn't carry a child to term, right? And so I was like, but Lord, you saved my womb. You what was the whole purpose in this? And I still had to get up, and I was like, this is how intentional God is, right? And what I speak about in the book is to lean into God, right? Because oftentimes we do want to run away. We want to do bedside Baptist. We want to, we're upset with God, so then we don't want to go to Him. But in that season, I had to run to Him and I had to lean into Him. And so it was very much scary, but I wanted to, again, be honest and just tell my truth. And I said, at the end of the day, the right people, they will, and I say, I can't control. One thing that the Lord like broke me from when He did give me this assignment, He was like, you can't care what people think, you like, as long as it's pleasing to me and everything. And so I was like, well, if you get it, you get it. If you haven't gotten it, if you think it's still roses and pearls, then that means just keep living. It's one of those sayings that people say, just go on, keep living and everything. Because I think, again, we can always give God reverence. I never, and I talk about giving Him reverence, but also going to Him and saying, God, this season is tough for me. And so I challenge people to, instead of running and secluding and being bedside Baptist and not going to church and want to, I challenge them to know you continue to go to church, because even though I was crying through every worship song, every Sunday, I was crying on the front row and everything. I knew God was mending my heart in the process. So yeah.
And I love how you were honest enough to say that you were angry with God, because I think a lot of times people, they look at that strange when you say you're
Mm-hmm.
angry at God. But there are
Yeah.
moments, the human side of us,
Yeah.
we do get upset and we question, like, how could you allow this to happened to me, or why didn't you give this? I've done this, this, and we make our relationship with God sometimes more transactional, where it's
Yeah.
not transactional. We're trying, God, because I've done this, I did this, I've been here,
Yeah.
you should have done this for me. I done all of this for you, and you can't
Yeah.
even do that
The
one
one thing.
thing for me. That one thing for me. And we make our relationship with him transactional. Like
Mhm.
he's supposed to match what we do. What we
Yeah.
doing ain't nothing in comparison to what he can do.
Right.
So,
Right. It's like that entitlement, right? That Christian entitlement that we think we have, right? And I always told people too, like, my relationship grew with God actually in that season. Like it went to another level. And so even though we try to like stuff it and say, no, okay, God, I know God timing is perfect, and we try to wear this facade and have this mask on, when I was very much transparent and vulnerable and going to him completely raw with it, our relationship changed. And so that's another reason why I want to encourage people to go to him, because I'm telling you, he will transform your relationship. It's not a checkbox, right? Because he did, like he said, his only begotten son to die for us, right? And so that is the key. That's the big thing. But with that, also knowing that your relationship, I guarantee, if you put down the facade and if you go to him with transparency, with your vulnerability, your relationship would change with him.
mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you have to. I mean, like I said, again, it goes back to God. We think, well, we know God is all knowing, but it's like
Yeah.
it's us. We have
Yeah.
to surrender and
Surrender
be
it.
honest and
Yeah.
really just say what's going on with it. And I love how you said that you didn't want it to be spiritualized, over spiritualized,
Mm-hmm.
because I think that is, and I'm like really excited about reading your book coming up, is because I think we need more of that. And I
Mm-hmm.
think, especially in the church, is that we need more vulnerability and more
Mm-hmm.
transparency from those that we're talking to. And I think, to their defense, I think a lot of times people feel as though if they share things, they're telling their business. And
Mm.
but it's a difference in telling your business and telling your story.
Yeah.
It's two different things.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
need to hear your story. We don't
Yeah.
want to care about your business. And that make you a little bit more empathetic to people and
Yeah.
more relatable. And I think that's what we're missing a lot of
Yeah.
in the church now.
Yeah, and it's funny because I actually talk about that. You start having a different lens, right? And you have a different compassion level. You have a different empathy level for people when you start coming with your vulnerability and your story. And one thing, it's funny because in the beginning I was like, Lord, am I going to tell my business? But what he said, he was like, this is my business, because he's going to get the glory, right? And because he
Mhm.
knows at the end of the day, when you find the people that you want to be, that you want to share, what's going on, and you have that transparent moment with them, he will always get the glory. So he's going to lead you to the right people to be in your community with you and to share your story with them and everything. And I honestly also believe that when you are sharing it and you're giving him the glory, but at the same time being honest about it, that's where the story comes in, right? And if people want to take it as you're telling your business, then that's on them. You can't control that part of it. But what you can do is making sure that you are sharing what's going on, because now the next person can get help. The next person can say, "Oh, I understand. Oh, okay," and you start realizing that even if a person's they're not waiting to be a mom, but they're waiting to be married, right? You have a different lens, right? Or you're just waiting for a breakthrough. If a person just having a season that their life is just one thing after the other, and they're not necessarily waiting on being a mother, they're not waiting on being a wife, they're just literally like, I'm just trying to live, right? it comes with that compassion, right? And it comes with that empathy to say, like, when they do come to you and they do share with you, you're not just giving all the churchy answer. The churchy answer is like, yeah, just, just keep praying, the Lord hear you, it's gonna be okay, and not allowing a person to have that safe space to just let me just share it. Because sometimes it's not even giving them advice. Sometimes it's giving them the space that they feel comfortable enough just to share it and say, well, what I can do is that I'll join you in prayer and I'll pray for you and go from there, right? And then maybe the Lord would give you a word for them later on, or give you a word while you're praying for them, and then you can circle back to them. Sometimes it's not even about just having the words at that particular moment, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And when we realize our stories aren't even for us anyway, that was
Yeah.
just they're for someone else. That
Yeah.
our journey, those things that we've gone through in our lives and we've come out of them, okay, they're
Yeah.
for us to share with somebody else. God always connects us with people
The right
that
people.
that we can share that with to help them. And
Yeah.
then that's what it's about. But again, you
Yeah.
have to be in a space where you feel comfortable and you own your past, you own the things
Yeah.
that have happened to you, and you realize that, hey, that was a God moment. That was a
Yeah.
moment God used me to help this person. It frees
Yeah.
you up and it opens up the
Yeah.
door for so much more.
Yeah, no, I'm glad that you said that, because I totally forgot about that. Yes, because I truly believe when you start realizing that it's not about you, right? Because oftentimes we don't want to share our stories because we're in our heads thinking, what would this person think? What would this person, X, Y, and Z. But then when you start realizing it's not about you, it is literally about you being able to share your story. And like you said, the Lord will connect you to the right people, and before you know it, they're going through something similar, or that they needed to hear that and they haven't been vocal about it, right? And so because I believe that when we don't share our story, we allow the enemy to be playing in our heads. But once you take back that power, when you start sharing your story with as the Lord leads you to share it, and then now you realize, like, oh, I'm not the only one, and I'm not on the island by myself. And so now you're creating a community base for it. So yeah.
I love how you said you're creating a community base, because I was just thinking that, our stories create stages for us to be on.
Yeah.
If you're willing to allow it, it will create a stage. It will give you an audience, because we live in a world now where everyone is an influencer. Everyone
Yeah.
is doing this and doing this, and I don't know who this is for, but maybe I don't even. But yeah, we'll move on from that. But yeah, your stories
Yeah.
create stages for you to help people, but
Yeah.
you have to be willing to do it.
Yeah. Exactly.
Wow. Okay, so how did you, I know your book is a 40-day meditation. How did you plan out the days? Like this day, what we
This
yeah.
day. Yeah. Well, that was part of like the outline piece of it, right? And so I'm a systematic person, so I said, okay, I know, I wrote the book, so let me start with my story, and then I wanted to also bring in, of course, women in the Bible, and so I wanted to bring in God at the same time, and then because each emotion has five, right? Five stages of it. And then that's where the husband comes in, because it just needed to kind of like make sense of it all. And then wanted to leave them in that section with some encouragement. So the last two is encouragement. So I knew every and a lot of people been saying it's been an easy read who's been reading it, is that I wanted to start off with me, then I wanted to show God, right? And how he has in the Bible what he did for these ladies, right? And so I wanted to then talk about God. I shared my story, what he revealed to me. Then I wanted to go into, well, what did he reveal in the Bible, right? And then I wanted to go into like the human aspect of, okay, you have a partner, you have a husband, what they could like, what could be the challenges, because sometimes if this situation can be very much a stressful situation, so it can cause some tension in the marriage. And so what I talk to is like how to help not make it have tension in the marriage, right? So I brought in, okay, what is the from not necessarily from my husband, because I can't speak on what's on his thoughts, but I can speak from the woman part of just reminding you that is somebody in this walk with you, right? And so because sometimes we tend to like forget. And then I wanted to leave on just encouragement for the last 2 days. So it was kind of like that outline, just going from me to the Bible to and then from there, and all encouragement, but of course, specifically. So yeah.
Wow. Okay. Okay. So will there be a mommy in waiting too?
You know what? Let me tell you, everybody, listen, it will be, it may be, because honestly, like since I've been on this journey, after I've released it, the Lord has been downloading things to me. I have a journal that I've been writing in, and I've just been amazed at what He has revealed to me, what other people have revealed to me. And so from there, we'll see if it's a mommy in waiting too, and what would that be called. But it's all with what God's timing is and what he does. So I'm open to it. I'm in the season of my life where, okay, God, what do you want me to do? What's my next assignment? And being open to that. And so yeah.
Now, ain't that like a great place when you are open? Like
Yeah.
you're like, God, whatever you want me to do, I'm gonna
Yeah.
do it. Bring it on. I'm ready for it because at
Yeah.
this phase, if you give it to me, you've already equipped me for it. So
Yeah.
what this is, bring it on. So that's a great space to be. How does it feel for you?
It's very liberating, because I did suffer for years of being all in my headspace and being like, oh my gosh, what will people think? Oh my gosh, and having all that fear and the anxiety of like, no, I can't say this. And even though I would think, like, if you had a conversation with me one-on-one, I've always been the same. I've always been, this is what it is kind of thing, whatever. But being vocal outwardly, I struggled with and everything, because I'm like, oh, what will people say? What will people think and everything? And it was just through a series. One day the Lord like literally sat me down and like was like, this is your journey to like where you are now, right? And like and then sometimes when you're just going and you're just doing things, you don't even realize like how things are playing into the next season, right? You're just like doing it, right? And so at my church years ago, I was on the women's like the women's ministry to cultivate the women, and we called it tea time and everything. And my friend asked me to be on the panel, and I was like, huh? And like I was always the behind the scenes person, right? And so I said yes because because she's my friend and she asked me, right? But that helped me, right? Or even like years ago when we did Christian blog, like when we were working together, right? And partnering and everything like that, like all those things help cultivate to where I am today and
Yeah.
everything. And so for me, I'm like, okay, God, once He broke me from it, and that's from really when I went on that trip to Fredericksburg. I went on that trip to Fredericksburg. I had that crazy ride to the sunrise, and He was literally like, I just need you to trust me. Like you worry about everybody else, but you ain't trusting me. And I think that car ride, it wasn't just a car ride to see the sunrise, which I was thinking that's what it was, but it was literally God saying, I'm moving you to the next level of what I have for you and everything. And even though before then, I would say I listened to sermons before saying like, you gotta empty yourself, like do all the things God has for you and want for you. And I would hear and I'm like, yes, amen, amen. But it wasn't until that car ride when I realized like, no, He literally have things for me. And I want to be that saint that when I get to heaven and He's like, I had all this for you, but I couldn't. I don't want it to be, I had all this for you, but I couldn't because you allowed all these other things to happen. Because we got to remember we have free will, right? And so so the Lord could be tapping you on the shoulder, asking you to do something, and you just straight ignoring it, and you're putting so many more things of value in front of Him. And I said, and so once I had that moment, And I was like, okay, let's go. And he knows that about me. He knows about that. Like, once I have that revelation of like that light bulb comes on, he knows, okay, she gonna take it now and I'm gonna ride with it. And it doesn't matter like where he, like, I don't know where he's gonna take me. I don't have the plan. And it's also scary, if I'm being honest too, because I am a planner. And it's like I like to know plan A, plan B, plan C. And he's like, nah, we ripping that up. And I just literally move with what he tells me to do.
Yeah.
and so I just go from there and everything. But it's liberating because I surrender my life to him, and I fully surrender my life to him, just knowing that he has all the things, planned out for me. So
Yeah, and I love, and I see Gay Arbuckle, she's in the comment, and I love the evolution of watching people evolve and the
yeah.
evolutions of people. And I like how you said earlier, like when we worked together back blogging back years and years ago, there was
Mhm.
God cultivating you.
Yeah.
And we see now, looking back in retrospect, how everything ties into everything. Like
Yeah.
he blogging for me, where music turned into blogging is now podcasting, and
Hmm.
I know the future holds brighter for me, but you have to like just know everything is happening for a reason
Yeah.
and go along with the ride and be open to pivoting in your life. You
Yeah.
have to pivot in your
Yeah.
life. And Gay, I never forget, I called her up, and because we had lunch together, and she was like, well, John, it just seemed like I didn't see you for a while or whatever. And when we had the lunch, I was like, I'm thinking to myself, like, well, I've still been doing stuff. I've still been
Hmm.
doing different things. And I think sometimes, and not saying Gay did this with me, but sometimes people will put us in a box.
Mm.
If we
Yeah.
do something here, we supposed to do that forever.
Yeah.
And this is where we supposed to stay in that lane. But God is saying, no, that's just the beginning of
Yeah.
you. And I'm
Yeah.
using that to create an audience. So when you go here, you got an audience
Yeah.
already, and you just keep evolving. So I just encourage people again, just go with the flow.
Yeah.
Wherever your life is going,
Yeah.
be open to pivot at any moment, because our plan is not his plan.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Well said. Well said. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
love
So,
it. I love
ShanaLee,
it.
what final words you have for us tonight for the mommies in waiting?
Well, okay. So the final word I would say, keep trusting God. Keep going to him, keep leaning in. Even when it gets difficult, continue leaning in, and he got you. He got you. And what that looks like, I don't know, but he knows. And so as long as you just keep trusting him, keep leaning in, know that he does got you and everything. And so, right. And if you're not a follower of Christ, because I don't want to assume everybody that listens to your podcast is a follower of Christ, I always want to just encourage people, if they're not a follower of Christ, to just find a local church, because I think that's still important, is to find a local church. As well as I just pray that pick up a book, pick up Mommy in Waiting, because I hope that it's at least an introduction to you to who our Heavenly Father is. So
Yeah, and for those, you guys always know I'm gonna support my guest who's on here. So ShanaLee's information is scrolling across the bottom of the screen. DM her, the first person that DM her, and I'm gonna get a book sent to you. I've already talked it over with ShanaLee. We're gonna have a book sent over to you, and because I think this is a much needed book at this time in a lot of women lives, and Christmas is coming up, so
yeah.
you can buy for your friends or whomever as a gift, or stocking stuffers and all of that kind of stuff. So go ahead and DM ShanaLee. We're going to get your address. And once we get your address,
Yeah.
I'm going to get the book sent over to you. And then just before we go, I definitely want to give a shout out to Marquita Henry. I see she's out there tonight. Marion, she's out there, who's going to be my guest next week. She's a playwright, so she understands
Oh,
a lot of the creativity that you were speaking on tonight. And yeah, I saw Gay and just a lot. My niece Dewan, thank you for tuning in, and my nephew David, he texted me and said he was watching. So thank everybody for being, for checking it out tonight. And I will see y'all next Monday. And if you don't IM ShanaLee tonight, you can still IM DM her tomorrow. I'm gonna honor the thing. I'm gonna get you the book. So DM her your address and everything, and we're gonna get you the book. And until next Monday, everybody, peace.
Bye.